Well, Happy New Year, everybody. For those that are actually spending their valuable holiday time to watch this, I'm very honoured. And by all means, tell me who you are and how many are there, or rather what you do to teach. I'm settling down. I particularly wanted to get this podcast, or vlogcast is the technical term for it, up in the space, in the cloud, so that I give you as much time as possible to think about what I'm going to be talking about today. And by the time you get your heads back into the teaching space, which if you're like me, which is about the end of January when I was working at the university, but whatever, when you're starting to really think through how you can make a difference, how you can impact the cohort, the students, the learners, your followers, whatever you want to call them, it's really important that you start to think through pedagogy. Now, to call it teaching practice if you like, but please, if you're watching here, would you please tell me your name and grant, Ecam permission to put your name into the flow, and tell me what you do, where you teach, what type of teaching you do, and we will hopefully be able to specialise some episodes later on in the year. How often I'm going to do this, I don't know, but we're going to do it again in another week's time, and I'll keep that surprise to the end. But it all depends upon you guys, just how anybody that wants to contribute. Think about it like a conference poster or a podcast, or even a paper, but that's a bit too academic. I'm thinking more along the lines that if you would like to join me in an episode of this vlogcast, reach out to me and we'll talk about how we prepare it. When it comes to educational lives, or lives for the purposes of education, think about it as curriculum. I go to a lot of trouble to prepare my lives because I want to repurpose the material. Bevan, you're in Thailand, is that right? I think. Yeah, very cool. And thanks for joining us, Bevan. We will address some of these issues. I already talked to you, so I know we can have a great time as we prepare what to do with some of this training. Dare I call it training? And look, what I want to do today is I'm gonna look. If there's anything I do here that you're more interested to know how to do it, please drop me a line on that too. Reach out to me. I'm going to do a number of, shall we call, training posts in the. By the way, I really want to thank Ecam Network for inviting me to be the moderator of this forum, or this group, this community. And I'm really looking forward to being us raising the bar. The number of you have already told me, or I've seen in posts in the main community, which is now 13,000 plus in the main community, that your teachers and that your Ecam has changed your game. And I want to know more about that. And I want you to be able to have an opportunity to share and talk to other people about that. So I'm going to encourage you to do lives on teaching practice. Now, if you're going to put up a live, I want it to be, and I think you understand this from the other communities, it needs to be about how to use Ecam, and how to use Ecam, and that's not just Ecam. How do we use Ecam in conjunction with other technologies, but make it all about teaching practice? Now, if you've got a fantastic lesson that went really well and your assessment was really good, then why don't you just clip your assessment out of it and then post it in the community and say, look, this assessment activity worked really well and this is why it worked well. And so clip your lessons, clip the way you're using your Ecam and as examples of pedagogy. So that's now each week also, as often as I can, I won't say weekly, but as often as I can, I'll put a showcase up. So that was where you can put a link to the complete thing you're doing. So I really want you to have an opportunity to show everything you want, but we can't do it in the main community. That's a rule of Ecam. So what we're going to do today is that I want to talk about. I want to challenge you in all these different areas of teaching practice, and it's going to be more questions and statements, okay? And if you've got things that you can contribute now, put them in the comments section. If you want to go away and think about it, connect with me through messaging, and we'll build a episode, and as I used to joke with all the professors, and I'll talk to you about my background in a minute. Excuse me. I've tweeted this over the last 2 or 3 days, so there may be somebody here who's saying to themselves, or when they're watching it, what in the world is Ecam, and who in the world is this dude, and why does he talk funny? So I'll answer some of those questions in a second, but we want to talk about outcomes. I want to talk about the quality of online learning and teaching, and particularly since this pandemic. I want to talk about engagement. How does Ecam help engagement? Is it just, well, we'll get to that, but is it just eye candy? I think not. An assessment and how to structure the events. Now, one of the things you'll see in a minute, which is a kind of a visual wow, is my use of stingers. And I'm going to put more up on how to do that in another episode. But a stinger is this, and now I want to talk to you about my background. So basically it's just a scene change. But my name's Allan Carrington, and that's my background. I am a learning designer and an Apple Distinguished Educator. And I have 2 master's degrees, one in education, online education, and one in interactive multimedia. Now, I've got to confess and say that Ecam Live feeds my DNA for my multimedia, and I can't expect a lot of teachers to play with the multimedia like I do, but we will talk about how to raise the game. There are terrific tutorials in the main community that I'll highlight to you if you want to know where to find them. I've got a lot of awards because my role at the University of Adelaide, as I used to joke, is my role is to make the academics look good, and I was very good at it. And I'm going to say the same thing to you. If you come on to do an episode of this vlogcast with me, my job is to make you look good. So don't expect any sort of negativity. Don't expect anything that leaves you embarrassed, because I won't let that happen. I can pick up the energy whenever you're running out of words. So I've got this background. I've taught in the VET sector. I've travelled a lot. I hope you enjoyed the countdown. I intentionally made it global. I've put posts up in the community about first languages, and my real desire is that one day, but take a lot of work, but one day we could do a Vlogcast episode in another first language. I'd probably turn to my buddies in China and Czech Republic and Ukraine, where I've travelled to, and taught on my pedagogy wheel, which is another issue. But we would have, the slides could be in Czech, Chinese, whatever, and I could be translated. This is what it's about, guys. It's not just about English. And so that's my background. And now what I want to do now is, look, if you're an Ecamm user, don't get bored for 1.5 minutes, please, as we look at an introduction to Ecamm. But if you haven't ever looked at this program carefully, or even looked at it at all, this short video, which is in some ways out of date, one of the things you got to live with Ecamm Live is tomorrow it's different. Tomorrow it's different, and it's evolving like crazy. The twins, as we call them, who the twin brothers who are behind this, the development of all this, are just amazing, and they keep responding to the community and coming up with these new features, etc. And our job in this educational community is to say look at the features and say, how can that improve my teaching practice, and what impact does it have on the students? Because it's all about the pedagogy and it's all about the students. So here's an introduction to Ecamm Live. Just enjoy 1.5 minutes and we'll carry on.
Ecamm Live is a powerful, professional live video production platform for Mac. Connect easily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, or Periscope, and begin live streaming instantly to your profile, business page, or groups. Broadcasting from your Mac means the power to use your professional camera and mics, and easily connect your iPhone camera. If you have a Canon DSLR camera, you'll only need a USB cable to start broadcasting. Add Skype guests to your live stream with one click. Ecamm Live becomes your own personal production studio with a live camera switcher and split screen mode. Rolling an intro video or a pre-recorded segment is as simple as dragging it into the app. You can also stream your Mac's desktop and comment live with picture-in-picture mode. Add a professional touch to your live stream by adding logos, lower thirds, countdowns, and text. Change your background with our studio-quality green screen feature. Read viewers' comments and reactions right here in the app. Even add a comment right into your broadcast. Leverage our integration with Restream or Switchboard to stream simultaneously to multiple platforms. And with built-in support for Restream's chat aggregation, Ecamm Live can even display chat comments from over 20 platforms. And when the show is done, a high-quality recording is already saved on your Mac. Ecamm Live, your instant, powerful live video production studio for Mac. Download Ecamm Live's free trial to get started today.
Okay. Now, this is a little bit of an ad, but I really do believe totally in this product, and I've become an affiliate of it, which means that if you use that link, and here's my introduction to a pedagogical approach, is the extensive use of QR codes in slides or keynote or PowerPoint presentations, because you're watching a video. But did you know that you can point your camera, both in Android or Apple, will read that QR code there, and it will then take you to what it looks just like, which it is. It's the Ecamm web page, but it does got an affiliate link to it, which means that if you go ahead and subscribe, I get a small amount of benefit out of it, and for that privilege, guys, for that investment in me, I will give you at least 1 hour of consultancy. Call it that. I used to get a lot more money than that, and still do, for consultancy. But what I'm more than happy to, and I used to get accused in the university that they would. This has been said to me more than once. Allan, I ask you the time and you tell me how to build a watch, and damn it, you make me believe I can do it. That's my philosophy. So I want to collaborate with you if I can. So there's a place to start. Let's move on. Okay, let's talk about learning outcomes. There's this Ecamm Live program is awesomely powerful, if there's such a way of saying that, is really, really powerful in the fields of entertainment, disc jockeys, music, just general people who want to connect and communicate with people. My focus and the focus of this community education, Ecam for Educators, is learning and teaching. So the outcomes that we're looking for are different. And what we are looking for is transformational learning. Are we not? If we're not, what are you looking for? So here's some of the questions that I want you to consider. And if you've got content input into this stuff, let me know, right? Now, for example, does online delivery and with no face-to-face contact affect the learning? Now, a lot of you are tossed headlong into the deep end, as they say in Australia, when the COVID hit. And so some of you who have watched this may have not even used online education before last March, and you went from one day maybe to, oh my goodness, I've got to do it tomorrow morning. And one of my passions is to help you guys do a better job. So what activities, if for those that are using not just Ecam, but Zoom and the other technologies, this is all about EdTech integration. We're not just sitting here talking about, if you want to learn how to do something in Ecam, the techie side, go to the main community. Okay, and search on the left-hand side and put a dumb question. Man, I got a master's degree in dumb questions. There is no such thing. Ask the community, ask Google, and then ask Allan. Okay, in that order. So search out your technical sides, and we'll do that. But what we really want to get down to is pedagogy. So what activities get you the best outcomes with Ecam and Zoom or Ecam and whatever, and why is Ecam going to improve something? If you can say, well, I don't know the answer to that, we'll turn and look at that at a later episode. And should we pre-publish the learning outcomes? Should we tell students what we're trying to achieve when we go live? I mean, it's not for having a fun time, or is it? Or should it be more than that? So these are interesting questions. We also should think about our training. Now, if you haven't had any of this training, that's cool too. That's okay. But those who have had formal training in teaching and learning know all about Bloom's taxonomy. Now, I'm not here to teach on Bloom's today, but Bloom's is the ability to categorize on cognitive domains outcomes. So instead of just having remembering and understanding down the bottom end, so to speak, you can get into higher order skills, thinking like creating, etc. So how do you get students and learners to create in an online environment? And does Ecam help that? So one of the other things, a friend of mine who is a great teacher and responsible for a online area of a major faculty, I suppose is the right word, in Canada, is asked me the question. He says, how do we get to mobilise the students in an online environment using Ecam Live, etc.? Can we mobilise and retrain students so that the sort of classroom tasks they used to do? I don't know if you've ever been a lecturer in a higher education space, but one of the terrific pedagogies that we can do that is designate, allocate students to be Google jockeys, we used to call them, and have the students participating in the knowledge building. And so how do we do that? And so these are some of the questions about learning outcomes that we want to talk about. Quality. Now, are we just unrealistic, expecting transformational learning? And what is transformational learning? Okay, if you want to know about that, ask me. I'll do something on that. But, and should we be striving for critical thinking? That's the higher end of Bloom's. And can we expect this level of learning in a virtual space? And my answer is yes, we can. So the next logical question is, how do you do that stuff, right? And that's something I want to do episodes with you guys about. How do we use rubrics? Do you use rubrics? Should you use rubrics? These are questions that our educators are faced with all the time, but rubrics are brilliant. And how do we design student feedback? And Ecam in Zoom, or Ecam with Kahoot, or Ecam with whatever, it provides us with there are a numbers of different platforms. Scholastic is another one, about feedback. Okay, so we want to talk about quality. Now, engagement. Okay, now that word is thrown around a lot in the live streaming space. Okay, they're always talking about engaging the students. Sorry, my correction. Default word. Engaging their viewers. And they talk about fans, and they talk about likes, and so on. Is that the only level of engagement we should expect in online learning? How else can we engage learners? And how do we build a learning community? Now, there are other communities, and they serve a valid place, but are they a learning community? And what's the difference? So we want to talk about that sort of stuff. Do students react to video eye candy and high energy hype? Do they like that? Does that mean that the extroverts are better teachers than the introverts? Interesting stuff. And how do we increase learners' attention span and explore elements of mindfulness and reflection? They talk about learners only having a 3-minute concentration span. Is that true? So how do we train them otherwise? Okay, so here's the next big thing, and that's assessment. This is not summative assessment, guys, where we're talking about exams at the end. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about formative assessment. What can we do using Ecam in other technologies if necessary, or straight on Facebook or YouTube, etc.? What can we do to create formative assessment that's authentic, that can relate to where they live, their world? How can we create activities using what technologies that can in fact create authentic assessment, and so that we can train people and that we will know what they don't know before they get to the end? And how can we manage case studies and practicums? Now, under this unreality called the unreality called the pandemic, we're not allowed to have practicums like we used to. And, can we create online ways to do case studies and practicums? For example, would scenario-based learning work? And how do we demonstrate professional practice, which is something we must do as teachers for the students / learners? And that last question is what I just asked, how do we design it? Has anybody got any ideas? And finally, we're talking about event structure. Excuse me. All right. Sorry, guys. Got a thyroid issue. What's the optimal time for live? Some of those live streamers in the main Ecam forum community go for 4 and 8 hours. Can we run a workshop? Can we expect students to interact with us, actively interact with us online, and interact with the content and interact with each other and learn as they would in a face-to-face workshop? Can we do this just using Ecam through Zoom for not only one day but 2 or 3 days? It puts a big demand on the system. But I've been asked to run a 2-day workshop in Brazil and Mexico, and I've balked a little bit, and so these are the real questions. I'll come back to this question, and the real question is, if you've got any experience in teaching using live streaming in particular, I'll go back one step. Online in general, live streaming in particular, or super focused on how Ecam has changed your live streaming and changed the game for you to teach online, please message me. That's my WhatsApp. You can, if you just open the WhatsApp and put that number in it, I'll get an alert, and we can even talk, and it doesn't cost the earth. Okay, so that's where I want to go, and this is where I hope will be episodes of this vlogcast will be really helpful for you guys sometime in the future, and I mean near future, and really near future. What was so exciting to me was that last week, just before Christmas, Jan is his name, and I'll introduce him in a second, put up this great post about emojis and about how to use Zoom and how he teaches with emojis in Zoom. And that blew open a completely wide area for me that I hadn't thought about. So I did what we call a literature review in academia, and you can look at the posts in the forum and where I've talked about how to use emojis in online learning. And the good news, no, more than that, it's exciting news actually. John has agreed to come online with us next week and talk about this. He's a great presenter, and that's what he does, and he's creating a Zoom course which has got to be required learning for teachers. So keep your eye out for that. But about this time next week, we will come. Jan will be in. Forgive me, Jan, if I'm saying that wrong. But we'll be together in an interview mode of Ecam, and he can tell us all about it, and we can talk about emojis. I hope that's of interest to you. I thank you all for watching and listening. Really, what I ask you to do is, please, if you haven't already and you've visited here because I've been tweeting, I have 2,000 followers that follow me on tweeting. And as a teacher and as an Ecam user, wanting to reach out to other people, Twitter is the way for education. Twitter is the way to do it. There are literally hundreds of thousands of teachers that use Twitter. Now, okay, here's the thing. Subscribe. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the community. Please make sure you subscribe to the Educators, Ecam for Educators, and I'll talk to you next week.